Welcome to the Business of Being a Postgrad, where we share real stories, experiences, and insights from postgraduate students here at Durham University Business School. Each episode explores the highs, the challenges, and everything in between. Our conversations are split into three sections: life, learning, and lessons. So, whether you're considering postgraduate study, already on your journey, or simply curious about the people shaping the future of business, this podcast is your inside look. Hi, I'm John. In this episode of The Business of Being a Postgrad, I'm joined by MSc Accounting student Murray. We explore what life is like as a local student from the northeast of England, competing for Team Durham, and how the programme is supporting his goal in becoming a chartered accountant. Let's kick things off with life, your journey, your experiences, and what made Durham feel like the right place for you. Hi Murray, thank you for joining us today on The Business of Being a Postgrad. Would you like to just start by telling our audience a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, so thanks a lot, John. My name's Murray. I'm studying accounting masters. I'm quite local, so I'm from Gateshead originally. So after finishing sixth form, I went to uni in Northumbria and studied an undergraduate degree in criminology. And then during that time, I was kind of wanting to, or considering joining the police. But then during my final year, I kind of decided against it, and I wasn't too sure what I kind of wanted to get into. So then once I left uni, I volunteered for a few months with Citizens Advice in the housing department, which was quite a good experience, being able to help and support other people. So that's something I've always, from then on, wanted to kind of do in future. So then after leaving Citizens Advice, about 4 or 5 months later, I joined the civil service with the Department for Work and Pensions. So my job there kind of became to correct past mistakes in people's state pensions. So I felt that was quite rewarding in terms of being able to pay out to vulnerable elderly customers and their families.
Oh, interesting. So is that what kind of started where the idea came from to kind of pursue the MSc Accounting program?
Yeah, because I felt during my time at the civil service, I was picking up the skills and attention to detail quite quickly. So I ended up spending months just focused on training other colleagues in how to become more accurate and learn the skills quicker to spot these mistakes.
And what was it about Durham and the program that inspired you to apply and ultimately join?
Because being a local student, I've always known that Durham is a good uni, very highly regarded. Mm-hmm. And I searched for the kind of rankings for accounting, and I also saw that it was very, very highly regarded. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to better my future career.
And am I right in thinking that kind of one of your long-term goals is become a chartered accountant, right?
Yeah.
So what does a typical day look like for you as a postgraduate student then? Being local and maybe having that different experience?
So, because I live at home, so I live off campus. So I would normally either take the train or drive in, because both are very easy in Durham, because there's lots of places to park. And then this is only a 10-minute walk from the train station. So I've got all of my classes in the new business building on Waterside, which is very state of the art.
Yeah, it's a great new place to study. So in terms of your wider student experience, I know you said you live at home, but are you involved in any additional activities or any college or any sports or anything?
Yeah, so I'm involved in the university badminton team. So we compete against other unis in the Bucks League. So we train quite often as well. So the trainings are Monday, matches Wednesday, training Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, with a strength and conditioning session as well.
And what's your team like? Is it students from the UK, or is it got some international students?
I think it's a really nice mix, because there's maybe about 50% UK students, but then there's students from China, Malaysia, Singapore, India, and other countries as well.
Wow. Are there any kind of social activities or anything that you get up to as well?
Yeah, so a lot of the time on Wednesdays, we'll kind of go out for a meal, or we'll go out later at night at each other's houses. Or
because am I right in thinking you're part of Team Durham then? Yeah. So and Team Durham, there's lots of different sports, and must be quite a big community of Team Durham athletes.
Yeah, it's a very, very big community, because there's basically every sport has a team. Even there's more social sports as well, where there's clubs. Like, you're not necessarily playing in a league, but there's like regular weekly sessions where they'll also have their own like social community as well. It's like who share the interest of that particular sport.
So aside from the academic experience, what's been your kind of favorite memory so far of the last few months since you started the program?
I would say my favorite memory is kind of meeting some of the people from both the badminton team and kind of on the course as well.
Next, we're diving into learning, the classes, experience, and the skills that have really shaped your program so far. What were your expectations coming into the MSc Accounting program, and how has that reality matched up?
The expectations, I wasn't too sure what to really expect, because as I mentioned before, it's been a few years since I've been out of academia, and it took like a first 1 or 2 weeks to get back into the flow of things.
And is that reality, how has it been transitioning then from being out of academia for a few years and coming back in and having quite a strict schedule?
Yeah, it's just getting used to keeping on top of everything, because with a master's degree, there's it's less contact time with like peers and the professors. So it's mostly kind of independent studying, using your own interest to go and like look deeper into the topics covered.
So that leads me on to one of the questions I was going to ask a bit later. But how would you describe the teaching style at the business school here at Durham?
I think there is a good structure, because we use Blackboard, so there's like a week by week kind of outline of what the kind of learning objectives are and what we need to kind of be familiar with. And then from the start as well, the first week, we kind of know when we're going to be assessed and how we're going to be assessed as well. So we can be thinking about how the lectures can kind of fit into those like assessments.
And is there a particular module within the program that you're most drawn to before you applied, or is there a module you were maybe enjoying that you maybe didn't expect to? One
of the modules I find kind of quite, I guess, overlapping with what I've done before is like the financial planning and control, because like outside of uni, for my like local badminton club in Newcastle, I'm like the treasurer.
Okay.
So I kind of have to take into consideration all of the costs of like court hire, shuttle costs, and then like structure the membership package based on that. So that kind of overlaps with how businesses can do the same to make sure they meet like their financial targets.
Is there any modules kind of coming up in the next term, or any electives that you've chosen that you're excited about?
There's one next term, which is financial statement analysis. So this was kind of, I've always liked to look at explain the significance of numbers and being able to draw like conclusions from them. So I think that's a module which will allow me to learn the skills to do that.
I was just going to ask kind of what skills are you excited about learning and developing, and what tools, you have access to as an accounting student that you can utilize?
So one of the tools we have, which I hadn't used before starting the course, it's like RStudio, which is kind of like a data analysis kind of tool, where I've used for one of my modules, perform like statistical analysis on like certain data.
Oh, interesting. So here at Durham, we focus on employability and professional exposure. Have you attended any guest lectures or any networking opportunities or any practical sessions?
I've been quite involved with the badminton team at the moment, but in my, like after January, the second semester, there's a lot less badminton. So I plan to join like the Finance Society. It provides like a good access to like different employers, alumni, and then fellow students, kind of build the connections and see more of what the outside like financial world is like.
Have you been involved with a career service? Have you had any one-to-one career guidance or?
I haven't yet, but I've used one of the career tools where you have to log in with your like uni login details, and then it kind of scores your like CV and cover letter based on the job advert, which you've kind of linked as well.
Yeah,
so I found that quite helpful.
And how's the experience been on the program with your cohort and kind of coming from a criminology background, maybe less traditional for some maybe other accounting students?
Yeah, because a lot of the accounting students, they've studied something like marketing or business in their like undergraduate. But there's also ones who've studied like different subjects such as like computer science or like geography. I'm not alone for people who haven't studied anything similar in the undergraduate.
That leads us into lessons where we talk about the key takeaways and advice for future postgrads. What's the most meaningful piece of feedback that you've received that strengthened your confidence as a communicator?
So I guess it's mostly about belief. In the past, I haven't been the most like outgoing and naturally confident person, but I think just having the belief, like I've got the skills and knowledge to kind of be a good communicator, have like a kind of point of view that other people could like value or take insight from.
And perhaps was it the years of experience that you've had professionally working or being part of the sports team that's kind of helped?
Yeah, I would say a bit of both, because I've been a badminton coach for a certain amount of time while I was at uni and sixth form. So it's about like adapting a communication style depending on who you're kind of communicating with, whether it's adults or children or friends. So it's kind of, and then at work I was kind of training colleagues for a while. So it's kind of being able to recognize what they need. For example, if they're struggling, they'll need reassurance and support, making sure you know when to provide that and when to kind of praise them and encourage them.
Have you been able to bring any of those skills onto the program with you?
I'm hoping to soon, because I think next week we've been preparing a presentation based on, for one of the modules, based on companies' financial like reports. So kind of discussing or presenting the like findings based on it, like whether they've been successful or struggling, what each kind of element of the report shows.
What advice would you give to somebody that was considering studying MSc Accounting?
I would say that if you haven't studied something similar in undergraduate, I would say there isn't anything to worry about, because the course is very accessible and starts from the most basic principles and foundations, and then it kind of builds up at like a manageable pace.
So you're talking about kind of the orientation or the kind of a few weeks of the program beginning, they provided a lot of support and help
as well. Before you start, we had like a month to kind of look through the lectures for the first semester and kind of have a read of some of the texts, get a head start and like familiarize myself with what we'd be kind of looking at in the first few weeks.
So how do you hope that this MSc Accounting degree will shape the next few years, particularly, your journey towards chartership and your ambitions in forensic accounting or fraud investigation?
As I said, I would like to become chartered once I've graduated. So the next step is to find a kind of a graduate role with a company that'll kind of support me in terms of like study plus work to kind of get that experience, because it will be another 2 or 3 years of like studying to kind of become chartered. But once having that qualification, I can then kind of pursue other interests within accounting, for example, like fraud investigation or forensic accounting.
Do you have like a dream kind of company you'd love to work for?
Something that does do forensic accounting, possibly. Maybe I could go back to police potentially in some kind of capacity. Yeah,
it sounds like lots of opportunities ahead, and sounds like the program will help you in those directions. So we'll just finish with a quick fire round. So I'll just ask you a couple of questions, and we're just looking for the kind of first thing that comes to your mind. So ready?
Yeah.
All right. We'll jump straight in with one app that you can't live without.
I would say probably Instagram.
I have asked you this one already. What company would you love to work for? So I think we know the answer to that one.
Possibly, I guess, police in the future in some kind of investigative, like forensic accounting role.
And your favorite accounting or finance tool?
Possibly R.
And a campus study spot that you always return to?
Upstairs here or the library. They're the two main places.
Nice. And the hardest module so far, maybe?
The hardest for me is like data analytics and visualization.
Yeah, sounds complicated.
It's just because it uses kind of AI as well, which is something I haven't touched on much. So it uses like prediction models, and it's all kind of new things and quite technical.
It sounds very interesting, especially within the new influx of AI now and understanding it. And lastly, one word to describe your MSc Accounting cohort. I would say diverse. Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us on the podcast today, Murray.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me.
Don't forget to subscribe. We've got plenty more stories coming your way.